This week on Houston Newsmakers, historic flooding hits southeast Texas, taking lives, flooding hundreds of homes, and displacing thousands of residents. Harris County Judge Ed Emmett is this week's special guest as we talk about the storm's impact, the county's response, what worked well, what did not, and much more. The Houston area flood disaster is the topic on this week's special edition of Houston Newsmakers.
From KPRC Channel 2, this is Houston Newsmakers with Khambrel Marshall.
It was a tremendous and unrelenting display by Mother Nature. Within a few hours between Sunday night and Monday morning, historic rainfall hammered southeast Texas. Hours of rain rates of 4 inches per hour pummeled the county's northwest region. Some rain gauges recording up to almost 18 inches. Experts say the equivalent of 240 billion gallons of water fell throughout Harris County. There are no drainage systems designed to handle that much water. The result? A flood disaster of epic proportions not seen since Tropical Storm Allison hit Houston as one of the worst rain events on record. The images will stay with us for a while. People with families pushing their way through water to higher ground, making sure their loved ones are safe, and that includes the four-legged kind as well. It was a week we won't soon forget. Joining me this morning for the entire Houston Newsmakers program, Harris County Judge Ed Emmett. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Good to see you. This has been a very busy week for you.
That's a bit of an understatement.
It is indeed. And as this was coming in, as you've had a chance to kind of look at what's been happening over the last few days, how do you think the government, Harris County government agencies did in getting ready for and dealing with this storm as it came through?
All in all, I think various agencies did well. They did what they were trained to do. And I guess the part that pleased me the most, if you look at a lot of the rescue activity up in Northwest along the Cypress Creek watershed, you would see constables and sheriffs and volunteer fire departments, and suddenly you'd see a boat from Rosenberg or from Baytown, and you go, well, they're not under my jurisdiction. How did this happen? Well, those are put in place in advance, you know, local aid agreements, and people show up and do their job. You know, it doesn't require anybody picking up the phone saying, hey, go do your job. So it went as well as can be expected. The problem is there were so many properties flooded that had never had water in them before. And so it's a whole new experience.
I did mention that there's no drainage system that can handle all of that, and the system that's in place, the bayou system that's in place, can only handle so much. What would you think that right off the bat, okay, I wish we could have done that better?
Well, obviously you'd love to be able to predict better so that you can give people warning. I mean, it's a horrible thing when somebody hops out of bed in the middle of the night and they splash in their own house. But you mentioned bayous. Cypress Creek isn't really a bayou, you know, it's a creek. And so that watershed has just never had that amount of rain on it before. So there wasn't any way to predict that.
And we were forecasting, I was on Sunday morning talking about the rain amounts that were expected, and the forecast amounts were saying 10 inches or more in some areas. We just couldn't tell exactly where it was going to be. So we knew it was going to be a pretty big rainfall, but even knowing that, you really can't really prepare for it.
You don't know where it's going to fall.
You know, this was the first event for you to work with Mayor Sylvester Turner as well. I mean, in a major event like this. What kind of sense did you get in terms of the synergy that you two will have as you cooperate between the Harris County and the city in going forward? You've done it with other mayors.
You know, the city and county are always going to work together well. In the case of Sylvester, I've known him for decades because we're both, you know, pretty old. He came to the legislature when I was still there. So the working relationship's fine. I don't have any problem picking up the phone and calling him at 4:30 in the morning and vice versa. And we both take the attitude of we understand some things are going to go wrong. No matter how good your battle plan, something's going to go wrong. And we both have the attitude, I believe, of let's solve the problem and sort out blame later on.
Well, we know in Houston it's not a question of if, but when we're going to get a major storm. We've had now a couple, several in the last period of time. We see thousands impacted. As an emergency center, as you try to prepare for something like this, what more can you do? Because right now you try to let people know where they need to go, what's going on. We have bayous that are approaching record levels. We saw Braze coming out of its banks in some places. What's the challenge there?
Well, the challenge, of course, is every time you have an event like this, you learn something that you could do better. And in this case, the one that has particularly gotten under my skin, if you will, to see people die in underpasses, the same underpasses people have died in before. That's unacceptable. And we have to make a change there, and we're working on that.
West Park is one particular area there where the really deep dive there, and we have that major, and it always floods like that. Right. And you were talking about ways to make that happen. And is it an I want to say, is it an easy fix?
It can be an easy fix.
Because you made it sound like that.
I really believe it can be an easy fix, because here's what happened. You've got the Harris County Toll Road Authority that's responsible for West Park. Texas Department of Transportation is responsible for 610. The City of Houston, Harris County, we all have our roads. So one does one thing and the other doesn't. And in this case, we can't understate the tragedy of people dying. But when somebody drives around a wrecker or a barricade and goes into the water, there's only so much you can do. But the other two people actually died on the other side of Loop 610 where there were no barricades. So if somebody comes up to one tunnel of underpass, there's a barricade, and then they go on and there's another turn where they can go and there's not a barricade, it's not illogical for them to turn. And so that's when I said, we've got to put a stop to this. We've got to have a consistent treatment of all underpasses that have that potential of death.
Have you started to put that process in?
Oh, yeah. We started it yesterday.
Yeah.
And one of the first things we need to do, and as soon as the sheriff and the constable and HPD finish all of their rescue work that they're doing, then I intend to sit down and we'll have a conversation about assigning deputies or reserve deputies to certain underpasses. And in an event like this, it's going to be their responsibility to go there and keep people from driving in. That can be done tonight.
And then you have to figure out which areas that you're going to be talking about. You'll identify those and work forward.
And I've already had a lot of people contact me with the list. They say, hey, we've identified these, we've identified that. Ideas of how to keep people from going in. There's a lot of technology out there. And yes, it costs something, but it's not that costly.
Mm-hmm. Certainly not same as a life.
Not the same as, in this case, multiple lives.
Right, right. We're going to talk about this later on, but what are the suggestions that you have as the best way for people to get information about their needs during this time of recovery?
Well, there are always two easy ways for Harris County. I mean, number one, if you really need help and you need a quick answer, dial 211. Mm-hmm. That's a phone line operated by United Way, and they're in contact with all the agencies that provide relief and help, and they can send you to the right place. The other is to go to the website readyharris.org, and then that website connects to everything also. And of course, as soon as possible, FEMA and the Small Business Administration will be here, assuming we get that presidential declaration, and that's in the works. If that gets here, then they'll be here and they'll set up command centers like they did following Memorial Day.
I'll be putting that information on my website, Newsmakers website. Again, we'll be talking about that. Coming up, we're going to talk about two major reservoirs. They're designed to control flooding, hitting record levels now. How are they handling it? And what does it mean for those downstream along Buffalo Bayou? That's next when Houston Newsmakers continues. And welcome back to Houston Newsmakers, where I'm joined by Harris County Judge Ed Emmett. You should know that Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner was invited to come on this show, but he couldn't make his schedule work. But it's interesting to watch. He's been out in the community, going out and doing town halls and things like that. I want you to comment on the backside of this, but here he was in the Greens Point area visiting that flooding environment.
Our apartment has been hit very hard, as along with a number of apartments in this area and throughout the city. But I wanted to come out myself personally to assure everyone that no area is being overlooked, no area is forgotten, no area has been ignored, no area is being treated differently than any others, and that we are going to respond to their needs. And I wanted to come out myself and make my own personal assessment to make sure that the city resources were out here and available and assisting people.
You think that's the right thing to do? Obviously, he's got all these different areas, and it's right off the bat, people are talking about, well, you didn't get to me quickly enough. You didn't do this right, that sort of thing.
You know, you're always going to have those situations, but no, I think he did the right thing by going out there, because that particular apartment complex during the day for the city of Houston was really kind of driving the news, if you will. And so going out there was definitely the right thing to do.
We've had those kind of comments from a lot of people in various parts of the city and the county with flooding going on. I want to talk about the region systems and how they're working and how we can do better. Got a lot of people uneasy who live downstream from the Addicks and Barker reservoirs, perhaps for good reason. They heard that the Corps of Engineers talked about these reservoirs going up to levels that are pretty high. What's the challenge with making sure that everything works well there?
Well, let's be clear about Addicks and Barker reservoirs. They are going to record levels, but they're still only half full. I mean, they're not, and so I've heard people say things like, oh, the water may come over the top. No, no, they're only going to be half full. The reservoirs are doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Where some of the confusion comes in, they are described as high-risk dams on those reservoirs. And it's because they're old, and they've never really been fully tested. So for that reason, I give all kinds of kudos to the Corps of Engineers. Colonel Pinnell and his staff have literally been there 24/7 on the dams, monitoring to make sure nothing goes wrong. But the people who are going to have issues are the people who live behind the reservoirs, because as that water backs up, it's going to go off the federal government land into those neighborhoods, and while everybody else will be clearing out, Cypress Creek's crested and gone down, all the others will have gone down, they're still going to face rising water because the reservoirs are filling.
That process with the dam itself, and I know that I was reading about that they found pockets in there, and so they got money, and now they've started to, have they already started to work to fill in and shore up the gates that are supposed to work?
The Corps is out there all the time. They're monitoring and making sure that there's no danger of the dams failing.
Let's talk about the bayous as they work. Brays and some of the bayou systems here, the Harris County flood control focus has been on making sure that the bayous work like they're supposed to work. When you get a rain event like this one, there's really not a lot that can be done. In some areas, we have Meyerland flooding again, and folks there are being frustrated. Are you satisfied with the progress that's being made throughout all of the system and how well it's working?
No. No, I would hope nobody would ever be satisfied. In the area we live in, we have to constantly be working. More detention ponds, really be careful about the way we develop out in the areas that drain into those watersheds. And in the case of Brays Bayou, that's frustrating because that project is underway, but it's several years behind schedule. So I would be real frustrated. And as a graduate of Bel Air High School who spent a lot of time in the Meyerland area, it's particularly frustrating for me.
What do you tell folks there who you're just getting ready to get back into their homes after the Memorial Day, and that's heartbreaking to see them having to get out again?
It's heartbreaking, it's frustrating, but it's being worked on now as fast as it can be. And then you have the other issue of the drainage systems which feed into the bayous. If those back up, no matter how good the bayou is, because some of the flooding in that area starts before the bayou ever goes out of its banks. And so you've already got flooding because the drainage systems can't move the water fast enough.
Let's talk about the FEMA folk coming in. You talked about that a lot, contingent upon the declaration.
Right.
What's that process like, and why does it take so long? You would think that in an issue like this, if my home is flooded, I want to be able to go to somebody right now. It's not enough to say it's going to be in place in 2 weeks.
And those with private insurance certainly can, but if you're going to rely on FEMA, SBA, the federal government, there are thresholds that have to be met. And there's been a lot of confusion about, well, Memorial Day worked so they were here immediately, almost. The reason is we were on the tail end. There'd been all these floodings over in central Texas.
True.
So the state had already met the threshold. We just tagged on to that. And we were able to tag on with a local threshold because the City of Houston water treatment plant went out. And that's $25 million, which got us to our $34 million pretty easily.
Is that what the threshold is?
The statewide threshold's 34. Our local is about 14.
So at that point,
We were in.
and then it's a matter of just
And
getting the
FEMA,
paperwork.
and FEMA was already in the state. This time, this 9-county area has to meet the state threshold of 34, and that paperwork certainly will all be done.
What do you, when you hear about the people who died, I would imagine that in a position like yours, you know, you're very frustrated about making sure that people don't drive in. But what more can you do, and how does that make you feel as a judge of Harris County that you come out of this event with people dying as a result of what goes on?
Well, as I said earlier, it is completely unacceptable for known underpasses where people have died before in previous storms not to be barricaded, not to be blocked. And I've gotten an email or two where, well, you can't protect people from themselves. Some of these people were completely innocent. Some of these underpasses, particularly the one at Loop 610, it fills up so rapidly. And, you know, I don't want to get into a lot of details, but you slide down that ramp and you're in 3 feet of water. But by the time you get out of your car and everything, suddenly you're in 10 feet of water. And we've got to stop that, and we will do that.
Well, Judge Emmett's going to stay with me for the entire program. When we come back, we'll get to some of your questions. In the meantime, don't forget, ReadyHarris.org. You can find important information about everything you'll need to know about flood-related issues impacting you in Harris County. Or you can go to RedCross.org as well. They'll take your information. They'll give you all that you can have. And I'm going to put that on our website as well. We're going to talk more from your questions next when Houston Newsmakers continues.
KPRC Channel 2. This is Houston Newsmakers with Khambrel Marshall.
And welcome back to Houston Newsmakers, where Judge Ed Emmett has been talking about this past week's flooding and the challenges of recovering from it. Some viewers, some of our social media viewers, sent in some questions. Rudy Sutherland was one of those viewers, and he writes, given the longevity of the problem in the history of the city, why has so little been done to develop drainage solutions?
Well, actually, a lot's been done. If you think back to Tropical Storm Allison and the way the Texas Medical Center flooded and all went underwater, a lot of improvements have been made. That area doesn't flood anymore. I've described it in the past, you know, like the whack-a-mole game. You solve one problem, another one crops up somewhere else. You know, you look at the way the bayous have been improved, the addition of detention ponds. When I moved here in 1966, there weren't any of those things, and so it's all been improved. But we are such a rapidly growing urban area, we can never do enough, and that's why I don't say we're never there.
You got to be frustrated with the pace of some of those things. You talked about earlier, the Braze project is ongoing, but it's behind.
The Braze project is behind, and it's not worth figuring out, pointing fingers. You know, it's got federal funding, it's got Corps of Engineers, it's got Harris County Flood Control District. We all need to pitch in and move these projects as rapidly as we can. And then you have areas like Cypress Creek, which had never until this week, the amount of flooding that we've seen.
Another viewer writes in, and he sounds like he's a business person, because he says, will local municipalities that are responsible for issuing building permits consider subbing out portions of that work to prevent process-killing backlog?
That'll be up to the municipalities. On the county level, for example, we have certain contracts in place that kick in during emergencies, for example, for debris removal. But that question needs to go to the municipalities.
Let's talk about price gouging concerns you may have. People are out of their homes, are trying to find places to stay. Are you concerned about those issues in the Houston area?
Concerned, yes, but the county attorney and the Attorney General of Texas, they all have staffs that work on that all the time, so if anybody thinks that that's going on, they certainly need to report it.
As far as you know, in terms of the shelters that are out there for all the people who are now displaced, are we in good shape in terms of availability for space for people?
So far as I've heard, yes, but all these shelters are short-term, and so we need to get people back in their homes or in permanent housing sooner rather than later, clearly.
This whole process with FEMA, depending on how long that takes, I would imagine that you're rather frustrated if it takes any time to not have people back stable again. You lose a lot of money in our community when these things happen, do we not?
Well, and beyond money, I mean, my frustration doesn't compare to their frustration. Right. I mean, if you're out of your home and you're waiting to get back in, and somehow there's a bureaucratic bungle that you need to solve. That's frustration. That's much more than anything I suffer from.
This process going forward, you've got some changes now within the commissioners, the court. Gene Locke, who said, I'm only going to do this on an interim basis. Apparently now he wants to do it long term. Decided
he liked the job.
Yeah, yeah. And what's that process like? You have any?
I can smile about that process. That is a Democratic Party process where Commissioner Lee was on the ballot. He was elected even though he had passed away. And the precinct chairs in that area get to decide who replaces El Franco Lee on the ballot. And then that person will be running unopposed for a 4-year term. And so that person will be elected by 100 or so precinct chairs who happen to live in Commissioner Precinct 1.
And you sit back and watch it. Yeah.
And I have no role in it at all.
Yeah. Judge, thank you for coming in. We appreciate you coming in. Good luck on the next few weeks and months ahead trying to get the city, the county, back on its right path. Thank you, Judge. Coming up, we're going to talk about next week, and that's next when Houston Newsmakers continues. Next week, Houston City Council member Dwight Borkins on the special upcoming job fair coming very soon. Councilmember Borkins was going to be on this program, but the flood issue took precedence, and Councilmember Borkins suggested he come on next week so we could spend maximum time talking about information on the flood and ways to get relief and the job fair. If you'd like to join our social media news conversation, Newsmakers conversation, follow us on Twitter at KPRC Khambrel, hashtag HOU Newsmakers. And if there are subjects or stories you'd like for me to take on, you can email me at HoustonNewsmakers@click2Houston.com. Thanks again to Judge Emmett for joining me this morning, and to all of you for tuning in. And if you'd like to check out the previous shows or get information on today's program, go to click2Houston.com, and under the news banner, click on Newsmakers. Have a great day. I'll see you back here again next week.